Hello and welcome. In this lesson, we will look at how to use Matpltlib to visualize our data. Matpltlib is used in making plots and static or interactive visualizations. These are very important in business intelligence. The first step of using the library should always be the importation of library into Python or into Jupyter Notebooks. And Matpltlib come already installed in Jupyter Notebooks, so we don't have to install these into our Jupyter Notebook. If you are using other Python IDE, you may need to install Matpltlib. Just like we use NP as a shorthand for NumPy and PD as a shorthand for pandas, the standard shorthand for Matpltlib is PLT. We use import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. You can directly use Matpltlib with this notebook to create different visualization in the notebook itself. In order to do that, the following command is used. Note that when you are using Matpltlib and you want to see the visual representation of the data below the cell, we have to use this after importing the library. So the importation process is very easy. And in most cases, Matpltlib is used with pandas and NumPy. To import pandas, we just use the usual way, import pandas as PD and import NumPy as NP. Then we move to importing Matpltlib, import PLT. Note that several classes, and we specifically want these. This will help us display the plots in the notebook. And we'll start by creating a simple plot that is, will input our data. The data will have a height column and a weight column, and then use plt.plot to plot the height against the weight. Here is we have to run all these before we move forward to ensure that all required libraries are imported. On running these, you'll note that our image is displayed below the cell, such as we had 120, 150, 180, then 190, 200, and 210. Let's see the change in the data. After adding the additional data, there is a change in our chart. That is in our aligned plot. When using the plot function, we pass two entries. First, the x-axis, that is the x-axis at the bottom, then the y-axis. That way, our chart will be plotted without any additional information. However, in some cases, we may need to add titles, labels, and legends. Using the same plot, you'll notice that type plt.title, then plt.xlabel, then plt.ylabel to add the additional information that's required. That way, we have the title, we have the X label and Y label in our chart. Let's try to create another plot and add this plot into our current one. You'll notice that now we have a plot with the height, weight, and calories. All these are aligned against the x-axis. We can make this uniform by adding additional data points to match our earlier change. That's it. You'll notice now we have 7 data entries as compared to earlier. Adding legend is also simple. In Matpltlib, we just use the legend into brackets. Sign, in this case, we use plot.legends, then label. Labels is we have the x-axis is the calories band and the weight. Then location is lower right. That is, we have two legends. We have calories burnt and the weight, and this will be located in the lower right. We can change this to left. Let's see what happens. Left, and see what happens. There you go. We have it at the left. Let's change this to, there you go. We have this at the top. Notice that in the previous plot, we are able to understand that each of these values belong to different persons. Look at x-axis. We can add different entries, that is labels for each of these data entries. Let's see what that does. You'll notice we have P1, person 1, person 2, person 3, and person 4. Now, since we added some data points that were not originally here, we have to also add person 5, person 6, and person 7. Sorry about that. Person 1, person 2, person. Let's see what the issue is. Person 5, we still have the same issue. We have to specify that we want to add additional tick marks. That should suffice, and there you go. We have person 1 to person 7. We can also customize the size, colors, markers, and line style using plot figure. Then we specify the figure size on the x-axis and on the y-axis. Then redraw the plot, plt.plot, calories burn, then plot weight, and this will change the size of the plot. Notice that in this case, we have to update the final command here. There we go. That's our chart. We have the 7 people, their weight, and the calories they burned. We can also draw plots and change how they appear. In this case, you will notice we are specifying that the y-axis should have the dashed line. While there is no specification for the calories burnt. In some cases, we may need to have several charts along the same in the same output. This is where we apply figures and subplots. Subplots add more than one plot in one figure. The subplot method takes 2 arguments, that is end rows and end columns. They indicate the number of rows and number of columns respectively. This method creates 2 objects, a figure and axis, which are stored as in variables fig and ax. You plot each figure by specifying its position using row index and column index. Here we have an example. We have figure to store the figure details and ax to store the axis. Then plot and we use plot.subplots, and we want 2 rows and 2 columns, and the figure size should be 6 by 6. You'll notice now we have 4. You'll notice that we have 4 outputs. The first one, the second one, the first one, and the second one, all along the same, all in the same image. The bottom one has the same axis, while the top one has the same axis. And then we'll plot the 0 on 0 row and 0 column. We have the axis 0, 0 dot plot. We have the first plot on 0, 0, and we have the first plot on 0, 0. That is ax 0 dot 0 dot plot calories burnt. Here we go. This is a plot of calories burnt. Then for the second one, that is the first row and the second column, we have a plot of weight. Then we'll set title using the set title command. We'll set title for both of them using the axis to identify them. Then we'll also set the tick marks. and set the labels. There we go. This is the output. We can make several changes by, let's say, adding the tick marks. We have 4, we have 5, we have 6, and this is also applicable in this case. We have 4, we have 5, we have 6, and we have P. We also have P5, person 6, and person 7. Sorry about that. And we have person 7. We should have a comma there. And close that. We have 7 people, not 8. Then let's duplicate this on the bottom and run this. Sorry about that. We have an error. We should have that. There you go. We have person 1 to person 8. And the bottom columns don't have any information. We can add information into those by now selecting. We have 0 axis. We can also add information into that by adding that. Then we interchange this. We want the first, the second row and the first column to have, let's say, we want the continuous line, the dashed line, then under this, and we want this to be weight, then color is burnt. Let's use this data, just use this, and then specify that we want this to be the first row and the second row and the second column. And setting the titles, we can also move further and set similar titles, but in this case, let's try to work with this. There you go. We have, I think we have to set the tick marks. Don't worry about that, but basically what we should do is just use we should just use the axis to set the titles, to set the tick marks. This should be 1, 0, 1, 0, and 0. There you go. We have all tick marks. We can change this, but let's have it as they are. We can also increase. What do we have up to person 5? We also have to set this again. We have to specify this. We want to have the first and the 0, then 1 and 1. Let's see if there is any change. We have change. That's basically that how we use the subplots, and we can represent data using the subplots by specifying the figure and the axis. Then we have the axis, then plot the figure. We have the axis, we plot the figure. And in some cases, we don't have to use the X and Y axis, especially when we have a 2 by 2, 2 by 1 figure. That is a 2 by 1 subplot. That's how it should be. And notice we can always specify the size. We specify the end columns, the end rows, end columns, figure size, share X and share Y are used to ensure we share the axis. Let's now look at how we can import data into our Jupyter notebook and use the data to create some visualization. There you go. Note we are using pandas to import the data, pd.read CSV, and we are using a data set called Big Mat and null entry, and this is a sample of our data. Then let's create a line chart to denote the mean price per item. Let's have a look at the code. Price per item, group by item. We will use the group by command to group the item type, then item MRP, then dot mean to calculate the mean. Now we have the mean item and we have the mean types and the mean prices. Now let's plot these. Use the plt.plot to plot the specified. There you go. We have a well done chart. We can also represent the data in bar chart. Notice that we are using different function to get data from our data set, then representing this in a visual representative way or visually appealing way. In this case, we have a bar chart that's showing sales against outlet size to represent the mean sale for each of the outlet. We will also present the data using a histogram to show the distribution of item price. There you go. We are using the plot.hist to present this data, and we have 10 bins, and the color is light blue. You will play around with these codes to see how they work, and we can make a few changes. For example, in this case, we can increase this to 30 and see what changes. Now we have 30 bins, and it increases. We can reduce this to 10, and you'll notice that it changes the shape of the chart. For now, let's work with 20. We also have a box plot, also used to show the distribution of data, and it can be used to compare between 2 or 3 items. Or we also have violin charts, also for distribution, scatter plots to show the relationship between items in the data set. And finally, we have bubble plots. You'll play around with these codes and change some values here and there, and you see the changes you make in the final visualization. For now, that's just it for representing data visually using Matpltlib. We also saw that we can use pandas. However, pandas has no method or means to customize the visual representation into our liking. Unlike pandas, Matpltlib is highly customizable, and we can even make interactive charts with it.